Well, morning guys, it is 5 things we learned from yesterday's late defeat to Fulham. We're not going to be on the hard line tonight, unfortunately. Gabe is ill. So yeah, guys, we'll be back on the rumour mill tomorrow from 10 AM for the discourse, for the dialogue, and we'll be dissecting a few bits in there as well, so make sure you join me every single weekday morning from 10 AM. But let's get into it. Yesterday, the first thing that we learned is Wolves feels massive, doesn't it, now? You know, kind of when you look at the general picture and how important that game's going to be. You've got two struggling sides at the bottom of the table, and you know, I guess you're kind of looking at people in and around us. I've just been told Sellers has been sacked, there we go. But you look at the teams in and around us when it comes to Brentford, when it comes to Sunderland, both getting points maybe against stronger sides yesterday, of which Leeds would have absolutely loved to do, naturally. But you know, a Gabby Goodmanson header in the back of the net would have all absolutely snapped you hand off for a point. But I think there were some decisions of which made Leeds United tactically drop a lot deeper, and it felt like in the last 20 minutes, you know, momentum of football can change. But I felt yesterday Fulham were there to be got at. I really did. So that's a little bit of positivity, of course, the fact that we were in the game and we were close, you know, to getting something and maybe even nicking it. But it still felt quite far, didn't it? But that's the first point that I want to make today is, everybody, that Wolves game now feels big, because the block after that is then Bournemouth, it's then Tottenham, which we know is going to be two really tough games, really tough games. Arguably, Bournemouth will be even, you know, Bournemouth will be the strongest one. But we've obviously seen what, you know, Spurs did to West Ham yesterday. You know, Bournemouth have then done to Spurs. So Wolves is huge. And, you know, I guess that leads me into point number 2, and it's strategy. It's the sort of 60th, 70th minute subs that will be absolutely microscoped in the Premier League. And after the game, Farke spoke about James and Aronson and Harrison, how people wrote them off, and you know, effectively though, he still has to work with what he's got. And it was kind of quite, I thought it was quite not a damning thing to say on the players. I wouldn't say it was that strong, but it wasn't a great thing to say on the players. You know, it was almost like, well, yeah, I've got these players to work with. People have slagged them off before, but you know, that is what I've got to work with, sort of thing. And it's like, well, I mean, you could go to a front two, you know, at points. You could do that if you want to try win the game. You've got two strikers of which are similar in terms of ability. Could we go with the front two to try win the game and still remain compact? Could we bring Willy Gnonto on that right-hand side? Could we start him, Willy Gnonto? You know, there are options. Is Tanaka fit enough? I mean, if you're on the bench, surely you are fit enough in a Premier League campaign. That's what I would expect anyway. But yeah, I think number 2, the strategy has got to be better, in my opinion, from Daniel Farke. If the idea against the ball is to bring on, you know, normally, you know, Jack Harrison and Metcha, that's going to get old pretty quickly. And Aronson, and people will say, well, what else can you do, Connor? Well, I'm not a coach. I've given you a couple of things that you can do there to impact the game, either from the start or maybe changing formation a little bit to make Fulham think. Now, I've always thought this, you know, with the 4-4-2, naturally, Fulham aren't going to be able to push you that far back because they're going to be worried about the 2 men up top. Naturally, with the front 2 as well, the connectivity between the attack and the midfield is going to be a lot stronger because they're bringing you into the game. So that's point number 2. Point number 3 is the weakness of the squad, you know, and this isn't down to Daniel Farke, this is down to the 49ers. There is a weakness in the squad. There's a lack of calibre in that side, but I did see enough yesterday. I've watched it back again this morning. I did see enough yesterday to give me a little bit more comfort. I said that I wasn't too sure on Okafor, and I do still need to see a little bit more from him, but I did think there were some positive signs from him. DCL won a brilliant classic archetype DCL header which led into the path of Longstaff, and he was unlucky when he smacked the bar, and we were just on the wrong side of luck yesterday. Lady Luck wasn't you know, feeling kind to Leeds United. So I definitely woke up not as angry. I'm just more disappointed yesterday and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, look, it's just disappointment. It's sore, isn't it, still? But I'm sort of over it really already, if I'm honest with you guys. So the 4th thing that what I wanted to speak about as well was, I guess, just, you know, once again, it's that midfield and how strong it is right now. I really like the midfield. I thought we dealt with Fulham really well in that central area. We made it compact, made it difficult for them. And I think the midfield at this moment in time is really competitive. Really competitive. It's got a good balance to it. I think you can involve Gruev in there to an extent, and because of the profiles we've got in there, I think Gruev can work to a reasonable level. Probably a little bit more at home, which is probably a bit surprising to you guys. But I think at home, Gruev in that midfield balance will do pretty well. I think the positive about when you're looking forward in that midfield as well is the fact that Tanaka is going to be back for the Wolverhampton Wanderers game, which feels like at least you've got like a bit of a number 8 in there, a bit more of a creator, a little bit more of an innovator. Can Farke push him a little bit further forward? Can we encourage those long balls a little bit more? Because I mean, Leeds' best moment of the game was a long ball going over a Fulham press, which is what we've literally said throughout. You know, what else can Farke do? What else can we do? Well, you can vary your play a little bit. We can be a little bit more pragmatic. And when we went long, Darlow with a brilliant kick, DCL wins it, extremely good leap and header, and then Longstaff smacks the bar. And that's what we were saying about the tactical side of Sean Longstaff coming in and playing him off DCL if you need to at stages this season. You know, it's him effectively working as a bit of a shadow striker, you know, a little bit of a 10, if you will, just working off Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because invariably when it's a 1v1 situation, Dominic is going to win those headers. So you need to be very close to him. And that's what happened in the last 60 minutes. Sorry, the last 30, 40 minutes. That didn't happen. So Fulham, I said at the very beginning of the second half, I said, we've still got to make sure we're a threat in transition. Willy Gnonto. We've still got to make sure we're a threat in transition, maybe DCL and Metro, because what they'll then do is just push high. Because if we're not a threat at all, what's the point in defending? What's the point? We've created 0.4 XG in the entire game, and from that point onwards, you know, from when they made their subs, they had the big Lukic chance, they had Kevin, which was a really good save, and obviously Harry Wilson, which was an excellent free kick, which is a good stop again by Darlow, but they were getting in between the midfield line and the defensive line as well, and that's because, you know, Fulham made very proactive changes, which pushed Leeds back a lot, but there is options as a manager, so many options as a manager to then combat that. Not just bring on the obvious substitutions, which we know we're going to do, which is going to make Leeds drop 5 to 10 yards. So a lot encompassed in that, but there is positives in a sense in that midfield, which was strong again. Number 5 as well, everybody, is I think overall yesterday was impressive, and I'm happy with yesterday to an extent. The performance, I watched it again. I've been up early this morning, limbering up. But the performance overall was good yesterday, and I thought Leeds were in the game, but it's that 2/3 of the pitch of which Leeds United are strong, Leeds United are good, Leeds United are effective, but it's that final third again. But can we get a tune out of that final third? I don't think, and even after yesterday's evidence, that final third is as bad as people make out. I think it's ineffective. I don't think it's cohesive right yet. I think the narrative naturally is that Leeds are blunt up front, which is what I've said. But I think with what I've seen yesterday, I think the standard of the midfield as well, at points, the danger from that sort of front line, the standard of the attacker how they're able to keep the ball, how they're able to look relatively strong in certain areas. It is just that final ball, it's that final decision. But I think you start Gnonto, you got Tanaka in there, you keep Okafor in there, and you start building a front three. Build a front three of Gnonto, of DCL and Okafor, because that's the best we're going to get now. You know, that's the best we're going to get. We've loaned Ramazani out, who I don't think is in a different tier to Okafor at all, but we've made that decision. You know, we've got that front three. Let's get it cohesive. Let's get the partnerships in there, and let's see Bogle on the same side as Willy Gnonto, which was working in pre-season. Because as I've mentioned before, guys, it's all well and good blaming recruitment, blaming this, that and the other, but when there's options to make the side better, it's difficult to then blame. So look, I know Farke's been hamstrung by the overall maybe lack of quality in that final third, but I'm still seeing enough there that you can get something from, especially yesterday. I think, you know, they were a little bit blunt at times, but there's still quality there, and especially with the facilitator in Tanaka, and especially with Willy Gnonto starting every week and building that relationship between the three, there might be something there for Leeds United. So let me know your 5 things in the comment section below, everybody. Apologies about the hard line. Let me know. Keep it respectful in the chat. I'll see you tomorrow morning for the Room Mill. See you in a bit.